Okay, I'm back. This is Negotiating with Jesus. We're going to talk about, I'm going to go into Mark 3, verses 7 through 12 today. So Jesus is talking to crowds. So I'm going to adjust this a little. I don't think I can get it straight today, but I don't care. Whatever. So I scooched over a little bit so I could read and have some tabs open, because I'm going to talk about a couple things. So I'm going to read from Mark chapter 3, verse 7. The heading is Crowds Follow Jesus. Jesus withdrew with the disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed. When they heard about all he was doing, many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, wherever that is, and the regions across the Jordan, and around Tyre and Sidon. Because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding him. For he had healed many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. Whenever the impure spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." But he gave them strict orders not to tell others about him. So that's a reading from Mark, and I want to talk about a couple things. I'm going to keep going back to some similar things that it's very strange how people react differently to Jesus. The obvious reaction is to be drawn to him. That's what it seems to me. Anytime you see somebody who's particularly attractive in some way, we're drawn to them. We lift people up. American Idol, we put people on pedestals. We think that they're wonderful. We're surprised by their talents and their gifts, their beauty, whatever it is. We elevate in status certain people. And it can be any number of qualities that we find attractive, but we judge continuously. So one of the things that happens with crowds is those who are in most need or most have the greatest admiration for whatever's before them will push their way in. And you see it in concerts, you see it in healing. The strange thing, when the Pharisees see Jesus heal, they are offended by him. They don't see the attraction. And that's very peculiar to me, because I know that for me, anytime I'm injured or have some kind of pain, if I saw some way to alleviate the pain, especially the greater the pain, the more, if I find a way to alleviate the pain, I'm down for that. I started taking, I used to never take cold pills, and I used to just tough it out, and I'd be like, I'm tough, I could take a cold, or whatever, the flu or whatever. But one time I got this sinus congestion that just shocked me. I had never had sinus pressure like I had that time, and I'm like, dang, that's it. From now on, I am down with medication. And I have used the different antibiotics or whatever things they can give me, anything that I can get. I do over-the-counter stuff. If I have a cold now, I just start taking a small amount, limited dosage, but I'll take cold pills or whatever. Go to the doctor if I have some kind of thing that I would have never gone. I prided myself in just taking whatever punishment nature would dish out. And it can be anything from, I have a knee that I used to blow out, and I would blow it out and it would be bad. It would swell up the size of a cantaloupe, and I'd be like, yeah, well, tough luck, take it like a man. It'd be a month or 2 months before the swelling would go down and it would start acting like a normal knee again. Finally, I actually found out that I had blown out my knee, the ACL, and I actually had the surgical repair. But people pushing in crowds, and so Jesus is taking a step back, because anybody who is possessed or has a disease, they were pushing forward to touch him. And you can see it in any number of ways. One of the ways I thought of is concerts. If you go to a concert, you'll find the people who hold whatever stars on the highest pedestal will push their way to the front. And I found it so, so unappealing, so rude, because I'm a gentle soul. So I'd go to an AC/DC concert with my sister and a couple of friends, and we'd be there. And we would be doing what they do at AC/DC concerts, just, enjoying the time. And all these people, these very rude people, would just push their way through it. And, we got there early. We got there in a timely manner. We paid for the tickets. We were up front, or close to the front as you could get. This was in the days of general admission when you would just, trample people, people dying from people rushing to the stage and people passing out, the press of the crowd. If you ever are at a concert and you find yourself at the front of the concert, the press of the crowd, the crush of the crowd can be quite startling, and you're taken in this crowd, and it's like a sweeping sea. If for some reason you feel a press from your one side, it will just move like a wave, and you'll be pushed over, and like a sea, you're in this ocean of humanity, and people will push their way forward, and everyone in the back is pushing front, and the front people, it can be you can feel a great deal of pressure as you try and hold a position, keep yourself alive. It's survival in a concert. And at one point at the AC/DC concert, I believe, this is thinking way back, my sister was on the verge of passing out, and I'm like, well, we've got to bail out. We can't sit here. And I wasn't even there to see AC/DC. I think I was there to see somebody else. But at any rate, we had to go out of the crowd, and I had to, rescue my sister so she didn't perish in the mayhem of an AC/DC concert. So, but this, the point is that not only is Jesus, the right thing is Jesus is a healer. He's the great physician, and he comes for those who are sick. So obviously the sick are drawn to him. But Jesus, the greatest character we've ever seen walk the earth, tells people, look, don't tell anybody about me. I'm not here for recognition. I'm not here out of my own pride. I'm here to do something, and it's not my time. Even though impure spirits would cry out, you are the Son of God, and revealed who Jesus was. He gave strict orders, look, I don't need that getting out. Let's keep that between us. And Jesus maintained this humility, this humble spirit, even though he should have been lifted up to the highest place. And he was lifted up, but eventually betrayed and denied by people and abandoned. The other thing I wanted to mention was this idea of fairness. When we're in crowds and we see, anytime we see something good, we want a piece of it ourselves. And one of the students drew this great picture, and this is a meme you can find on the internet, and the idea of what is life really. Life is a uneven distribution, and we have different gifts and talents, and I would love to have all these gifts and talents, and I in some way crave them, but I'm also, I look at myself somewhat clearly, and I'm like, you know what, you have this kind of mediocre range of gifts and talents. You're kind of average looking dude. I love to sing and play guitar, and I have, as I'll demonstrate later, average skills. And I want to be brilliant in some way. I want to be this great, knowledgeable person, this intellect. And I find that I'm in some kind of middling level of all these different talents. And it's very distressing to me. It's very sad. And, I weep at my own bedside. Why, Lord, when you distribute talents, do you distribute them unevenly? It's one of the cries of the human heart. Why is life unfair? And so one of the things we do, we preach about equality, and wouldn't it be great if everyone had exactly the same gifts? And in some way, we try and develop systems that provide reward and incentive to people. And to me, this represents a couple ways of looking at life. And it can be political, it can be the way we care for each other, nurturing. But to me, we're in an age where economic and political ideas are really being wrestled over, and the idea that in an economy where everything is equal, or you have all this and equal opportunity, a guy who's already really tall can earn something that makes him really taller, and a guy who doesn't have many gifts earns exactly the same, and it doesn't get him to this level where he can see over the fence. And I imagine this is like a baseball game or something, and the little kid can't see, even with equal opportunity, doesn't get to a height that we think is fair. So we get fairness, and in the end, it's this idea that, if we could give this guy a really nice platform, he could see. This guy only needs a half-size platform, and this guy can peek over the fence just with the gifts that God gave him. And it's about distributing wealth or distributing healthcare or whatever it is you want to distribute. If we could distribute it in a fair way, everyone would live in this utopia. And we have all these utopian tales, and guess what? They always work out terrible, because people end up being corrupt and distributing most of the gifts to themselves. It's like a secret that nobody really knows, is that people are selfish, and if they find themselves in power, they'll make sure everything good goes to them first, and they'll wipe out those who oppose them. And it's this brutal truth about life. But one last thing I want to tell you is, I went to a concert, and I go to Christian concerts, and that same AC/DC attitude where people are pushing themselves, pushing to the front. Life is this uneven distribution, and I was in one concert, and it particularly was impressed upon me how rude and unkind people are. And I'm at a Christian concert, and these big giant men, like 6'4", are working their way to the front. And in a concert like that, there's a real mix of age, and there's like 6-year-old or 8-year-old kids who are like 3.5 or 4 feet tall, 48 inches, and a man who's 72 inches, so that all these kids, as people press past them, they get to look at some man's butt in front of them. And it's like, dang, what is wrong with people that they feel that even though they're given these great gifts, they still are looking for more? And it's this strange human condition. And I just was very unimpressed. I was kind of angered, and I would be like fighting for these little kids. It was my great act of honorable, noble service, as I would fight for these big people who keep pushing their way in this crowd in front of my kids. It wasn't my own children, but it was little kids that I had some charge over. And I'm thinking, dang it, you big freaking oafs, get into the back. These are little kids who would like to, have a view of the show. They'd like to be on some kind of platform, and you big oafs are standing up in front of them, and they get to look at your backside. So, as we wrestle with things and try and, negotiate in life, there's one negotiation that really matters, because there's going to be all kinds of big people in front of you all your life. And we will try and force justice, enforce it, and force it upon people. But the truth is, every time somebody is trying to distribute things, what they want to do is cut the legs off of one guy to make it fairer, because there's no resources that we can just pull out of the air and give boxes for people to stand on. What we have to do is take them from one place and give them into another. And what the easiest way that it always turns out is we have to cut the legs off of this guy so that nobody can see. And that is the great parental equalizer as well. When you're driving along and you're going to the movie and the kids are fighting, you're like, okay, that's it. Now nobody's getting the treat. So cutting the legs off of the tall man is really the universal fairness standard, because humans are selfish, and we will not rule with justice. There's only one just king, and that's Jesus. So check him out, negotiate with him, talk to him, find out about them. This is Negotiating with Jesus. I'll talk to you again soon.